water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, The Last Airbender was on Netflix, and the world lived in harmony. Then, everything changed when the license ran out.
Bruh. That's rough, buddy.
Only that one show could restore Netflix to its former glory, but when the world needed it most, it vanished. 100 years passed, at least it felt like it, and my sister and I discovered that the show had returned, and although our memories of it are great, we don't know if it's just because we were basically still in diapers when we last saw it. But I believe Avatar is still really good. When I was a kid, Avatar was basically my favorite show. I would talk about it with my friends at school, and then on Saturdays my sister and I would watch it on Netflix together. So when the show came back on Netflix a few months ago, my sister and I thought it'd be really cool to share it with our other sister, who was too young to watch it at the time. The past few months, the three of us have been slowly making our way through the show. It's been a great time to get to know them a bit better, and to spend time laughing and cheering at the TV together. So to both of you guys, thanks for that. But let's answer the main question I had going into this review. Is this show as good as I remember? And I'm extremely happy to say that not only is it just as good, it's actually better. Imagine looking at a famous painting as a kid. You'll probably think it's pretty cool, but once you're done looking at it, you'll go, I'm bored, and go play Lego Star Wars. Then you come back when you're a bit older and go, wow, this painting is totally sick. Look at all those little brush strokes. Look at the colors. Wait, is that the Death Star? I don't remember that being there, but it's awesome. And then you go play Lego Star Wars anyway, because let's be honest, Lego Star Wars rules. What I'm trying to say is that this show might be about a tattooed hoodlum and his hoodlum friends playing with rocks and magic water, but it's about a lot more than that on a bigger level. It's about hope, destiny, duty, loss, redemption, tyrannical governments, revenge, forgiveness, and it's definitely about
Honor. My honor.
This show tackles a giant flying sheep full of mature themes and ideas, most of which airbended right over my head when I was a little kid. That's one of the coolest things about the show. It appeals to my 10-year-old sister just as much as it does to a rebellious teenager like me. So I've made it really clear that this show is awesome, but why?
I need to ask you something.
What?
Please, come closer.
What is it?
Will you go penguin sledding with me?
Sure, I guess.
The story in this show is pretty generic when you think about it. A small ragtag group of rebels and the Chosen One have to defeat a giant evil empire. It literally just follows the basic hero's journey, not to mention Star Wars. But it's the characters that make it interesting. If you ask me, characters are one of the most important parts of any story. The characters are what I like so much about The Last of Us, which is my only 10 out of 10 score to date. And good characters are one of the first things I look for when reviewing a game or a movie. And the characters in Avatar don't disappoint. Every one of them is super well defined. By the end of the show, every episode just felt like hanging out with a group of friends that I knew really well. And almost every single character in the show has what is, in my opinion, the mark of good writing: character development. The idea is simple. A character begins the story at point A and grows in some way to end at point B. But it's surprising how many shows and movies miss this mark completely. I could go through basically every character and explain the intricacies of their growth from season 1 to season 3, how they changed over the course of the... But you know what, that would all take forever. We're not going to do that. No, we're doing it right now. Strap yourselves in, boys and girls. We're going for a ride. Aang starts off as a stupid little kid who just wants to go torture animals all the time. But by the end of the show, he's a way more mature person who has accepted the responsibility he has as the world's most overpowered preteen. Katara goes from a noob who is worse at waterbending than a squirt gun to an H2O master who is also kind of the group's leader. My man Sokka goes from a goofy idiot who thinks he knows everything to a confident, capable leader who is also the world's greatest comic relief. And Zuko goes from being just an edgy villain with a stupid haircut to literally one of the show's best characters. And that's only mentioning a few of them. The show is just packed full of interesting characters, all of whom are memorable and well written. But if we're being honest, the best character in the show is clearly this legend.
My cabbages!
Another thing that makes the show so good is the world building. In Avatar, people basically have magic powers that let them control different things like air, fire, etc. I know it sounds pretty juvenile as a concept, but the show takes itself pretty seriously, so it actually pulls it off really well without seeming childish or cliche. The different ways of bending are also really well expanded upon. For example, of course earthbenders would build giant earth-based weapons in their fortresses. Of course waterbenders could also control the water inside people and plants. And of course airbenders could cut through rocks with only air. That one technically shouldn't be able to work, but besides that, the magic powers people have in this show are surprisingly well thought out.
It's not magic, it's water bending.
Now, all of this doesn't mean that the show is perfect, because it's not. At its core, Avatar is a kids show, which might excuse some of the following criticisms, but I'm gonna share them anyway. First of all, there are a lot of filler episodes. For most of Season 1, and a lot of Seasons 2 and 3, each episode is just a random, unrelated adventure that doesn't really impact the overall plot. The whole show has a unified story, but a lot of episodes just go like, yeah, so there's a huge war going on and people are dying, but let's just hike around the Grand Canyon for a few days and then go have a dance party with a bunch of middle schoolers. It's a bit disorienting when only a few episodes separate emotionally complex and well-written from Secret Talk. The jokes can also be pretty childish at times. Mostly the humor lands and does a lot to lighten the overall tone.
I release a sonic wave from my mouth.
But sometimes the jokes just sound like they're written for children, which I guess makes sense, but still. So clearly, most of the criticisms that I had with this show had to do with the fact that it was made for kids, which honestly, I don't think is a bad thing at all. This show has a ton of heart. It's really clear that the people who worked on it really cared about it, and they wanted to make it good. They put a ton of passion into it, and it really shows. Because even the parts that I didn't like the jokes that didn't land, or the filler episodes, are still fun to watch. The animation is one of the most unique parts of the show, since it's inspired by Japanese anime. Let me just say that I don't actually watch anime at all. The only one I've ever watched is Pokemon, and that was in like 2nd grade. I have to say though, the animation in this show is seriously sick. The fight scenes are especially super well choreographed and animated, and as the show goes on, the fight scenes just get cooler and cooler. Plus the animation lets them exaggerate certain things in order to emphasize a lot of the humor, which works well most of the time. So even though normally I'm not a fan of this kind of animation, this show does it really, really well.
The other airbenders may be gone, but you still have a family. Sokka and I, we're your family now.
Avatar: The Last Airbender is quite possibly the best kids show I've ever seen. It has surprisingly complex themes, and it's a blast to watch, even if you're far from the target demographic. This show is proof that something that's technically made for kids doesn't have to be childish or stupid, but can be just as thoughtful and well done as something made for adults, even if kids probably won't appreciate all of it until they're older. If you're thinking about rewatching this show by yourself, or sharing it with your son, daughter, sibling, or pet lemur, all I can say is yes, please do, because it's just as good as you remember. I give Avatar: The Last Airbender a real review score of 9 out of 10. This show is really awesome. Secret tunnel, through the mountains, secret tunnel. Oh, yeah! We got it! Nice, nice.
That was good.
Nice one.